Gentlemen, you may proceed, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, you're the chairman. We're happy to follow your lead on this. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the record, I'm Greg Walden, and I represent the people of Oregon's 2nd District, including those in the Klamath Basin. I want to thank you for letting me testify today and for letting me join you on the dais afterwards. During my 8.5 years in the Congress, no set of issues has consumed my time and energy more than those involving the very complex situation in the Klamath Basin. I want to make 3 key points this morning. First, the decisions made affecting the fish farmers and tribes in the basin have been thoroughly and independently evaluated by the Inspector General of the Department of Interior. The Inspector General's findings more than 3 years ago completely dismissed the allegation of undue political influence. You each should have a copy of that response, and I would ask unanimous consent that Mr. Devaney's March 1, 2004 response to Senator John Kerry be made part of the official record.
Without objection, sir.
Second, the National Academy of Sciences report 4 years ago rejected the allegation that the Klamath Project was to blame for the fish kill in 2002, just as it concluded that the agencies did not use junk science, but did accept, as they wrote, quote, a high risk of error in proposing actions that the available evidence indicated to be of doubtful utility, close quote. I would also ask unanimous consent the National Academies of Science National Research Council Committee on Endangered and Threatened Fishes in the Klamath Basin final report be made part of the official record. Third, the committee's hearing today, to the extent it opens old wounds and reignites past conflicts, runs the risk of aborting a mediated settlement process that includes 26 parties in the basin who in the past would have been at each other's throats, but on the contrary, for the last many months have been at each other's tables, trying to find a basin-wide solution. As Craig Tucker and Leif Hillman from the Karuk tribe told the Oregonian newspaper on July 16, 2007, and I quote, the real story on the Klamath is not what politicians did 4 years ago, but what Klamath Basin residents and coastal fishermen are doing today to solve the Klamath crisis, close quote. Mr. Chairman, just as you called on the Department of Agriculture 1 month ago to do everything possible to assist the farmers of 46 counties in West Virginia who are suffering from a lack of water because of a drought, so too did I and my colleagues in the basin ask everyone from the President on down to do whatever was within the scope of the law to help the farmers in the Klamath Basin when the conditions in 2001, because of a drought, resulted in loss of water to the project for the first time in nearly 100 years. The picture you see on the screen here demonstrates what happens when the water to the farmers is turned off, because downstream from the Klamath Project is the Klamath Wildlife Refuge. The water flows through the project to the refuge, and you can see the devastation done that year to the waterfowl's habitat. I also worked closely with your 2 predecessors to hold oversight hearings on the problems to help identify what went wrong and how we could fix it. We called on the Department of Interior to seek a review by the National Academy of Sciences during a field hearing at the fairgrounds in Klamath Falls. We looked at the problems, including a lack of screens on the A Canal and fish passage on Chiloquin Dam, as you can see here. And this administration responded aggressively by pushing the agencies to get results on both. Today, a multi-million-dollar complex fish screen prevents sucker larvae from ending up in the irrigation system rather than staying in their natural habitat. And within a year or 2, Chiloquin Dam, which was the main cause of the original listing of the sucker, will be gone, reopening 95% of the habitat up the Sprague River. In addition, the basin has seen 370 partnership ecosystem restoration projects, a 100,000-acre water bank, water taken out of productive use and used for fisheries, and more than $500 million in Klamath watershed habitat restoration, water quality improvement, and water conservation efforts since 2002. Good things are happening in the basin like never before. It's unfortunate the committee's valued time is not spent encouraging more forward progress in the basin, but I hold out hope that it will. As for the fish kill, I implore you to listen to the words of Professor William Lewis, who will testify later today, and who chaired the Committee on Endangered and Threatened Fishes in the Klamath River Basin, a committee of the National Research Council, the world's premier independent scientific body. He says, and I quote, the Klamath Project is located over 150 miles upstream from the mouth, and water flowing through the Klamath Project accounts for only 10% of the total flow at the mouth. Large tributaries entering the river below the Klamath Project contribute most of the flow at the mouth. Furthermore, the Klamath Project releases warm water that is warm, or excuse me, releases water that is warm because it comes from storage lakes rather than reaching the stream through groundwater or surface runoff. The committee concluded that a relatively small amount of warm water propagated over a distance of 150 miles would not have made a critical difference to the salmon that were staging for migration at the mouth of the river. The committee also examined previous conditions and found that low flows similar to those in 2002 had occurred in several years within the period of record without any accompanying salmon mortality. The committee therefore concluded that mortality was the result of an unusual combination of conditions, probably including unusually low flow, plus the absence of a cool pulse of flow that even a brief precipitation event might have provided, close quote. Now to my third and final point, Mr. Chairman. The Klamath Basin Settlement Group has worked in private for the last several years to reach common ground on complex issues. Their goal is to recommend to Congress a comprehensive settlement plan that will work for the fish and the fishermen, for the tribes and for the farmers, and hope to have that ready to go by November of this year. While the talks remain confidential, I know they're complex, just as the problems are complicated. I wish them well in their work and would encourage them to ignore the political noise in Washington and stay focused on the long-term solutions they seek. And I implore this committee and its staff to do the same. Prior sessions of Congress have helped those in need, farmers and fishermen, when they've suffered losses. And prior sessions of Congress have investigated what went wrong and why. I implore this committee to not go down the partisan path of political provocation, but instead to rise above it and provide support to those good citizens who are laboring to find common ground in a basin-wide settlement. Let's do what's best for the fish, the farmers, the tribes, and the fishermen. Let's encourage them to find common ground, not rub salt in old wounds when they're so close to an historic agreement of enormous significance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask my full statement be made part of the record.
Without objection.